Welcome to Catherine Piroy Show. Today I have a special guest, someone very close to my heart. Kim is a PSYCH-K facilitator, best-selling author, Reiki master, intuitive healer, and educator. Using her knowledge and extensive training, Kim has become an expert in transforming the perception of stress and replacing any limiting and negative subconscious beliefs. This is the key to living a happy, fulfilled life, as we are able to work on strengthening our foundational beliefs, then center it to self love, self worth, and self acceptance. Welcome, Kim. I'm so happy to have you here with me. How are you today?
Oh, thank you so much. It's so good to be here, Catherine.
It's my
I'm
absolute
fantastic.
pleasure. As
We always have a good time.
Yes, and as we were talking before, I feel like we are soul sisters, and I think this conversation is going to be like having a cup of coffee with a friend.
I think so. It always is when we talk.
Yeah. So let's dive a little bit deeper. How does actually self-love affects our life? Usually people perceive
Oh,
it as something which is maybe selfish or ego-based or something like that. But I would like you to explain it a little bit because I believe it's truly crucial.
to me, self-love is the most important thing above everything else. And you're right. I remember as a child being on the playground and people would say to each other, oh, she just loves herself. She just loves herself. And it really is a perception of being selfish. However, to me, the core foundational belief system that we have is self-love, which is also then related to self-worth and self-care. So if we don't love ourselves unconditionally, if we don't truly love every single thing about ourselves, then our foundation or our bottom layer is a little bit wonky, maybe a bit cracked. Every single decision that we make, everything we do in our entire life is based off that self-love, self-worth, self-esteem. And then from there, it's like you're building a structure, and then it just goes a bit wonky as it grows and as it's built. Because if we don't have a very, very strong foundation, then nothing is really right. And what I find is if our self-love is not truly absolute, then we don't do things that are in our best interest. And over time, we end up being unhappy. And as we know, our belief systems and our emotions can cause disease within the body and unhappiness.
This has a lot of to do with boundaries, right?
Yeah.
So if we don't know how to set it right, I guess we will not succeed in what we plan to. Would you like to elaborate a little bit about how we can set boundaries nicely, especially in the business world? You know how everyone bombs us from all over the place.
Oh, look, I think, again, everything comes back to self-love. So when you have self-love, you do need to start implementing some boundaries. And the boundaries can be big and small, like you've mentioned specifically boundaries to do with our business world, but it comes back to working on boundaries with ourselves first. So, we set boundaries on our own, for example, to maybe go to bed at a certain time and eat good food and have movement. And then, of course, boundaries do move into all other areas. So boundaries with friends, family, romantic relationships, and business. Now, business is a big thing because realistically, if we don't have set boundaries, for example, the hours that we work or how fast we get back to a client if they email us or call us, or what we are willing to do, or what's included in our packages, for example, if we're working with clients, if we don't have really clear boundaries that are beneficial to us and our well-being and our business's well-being as well, it slowly erodes over time. And then we just give away little bits of ourselves. And first of all, our business is going to start stalling, or it's not going to grow the way it should be because we're giving away more than I guess we've budgeted for. If we're talking financially, we're also giving away parts of ourselves. So we're then feeling resentful and we're feeling depleted, and it's not as joyful as it should be.
I couldn't agree more. So, what about intergenerational beliefs? I'm sure, like, I'm a millennial, for example. Like, when I talk to my mom, it's a completely different world. But how we can make peace with that, with those differences?
It's really interesting because intergenerational beliefs or intergenerational trauma is something that's really being studied right now. So, for example, and I know you know my story, but my dad was born in Germany in 1942. So I'm a first generation Australian. So effectively what he experienced, he saw, he felt. Every single emotion that went through him has actually been passed down to me in some form or another. So his belief system from that time has come through to me. And of course, because he was born at that time, his mum's belief system got passed to him. So intergenerational beliefs are really interesting and tricky at the same time. So whilst you being a millennial and your mum, who I guess would be a Gen X lady like me, an epic Gen X. So effectively, you guys might seem to be really different, but your core belief systems are very similar. So you would find, I imagine, some things that you do and you say, you think, oh my goodness, I'm starting to sound just like my mum.
Exactly.
Or my dad or my granddad, or because the beliefs go back many, many generations. So if you think about it, you know, you've got all of the beliefs systems, the mannerisms, all of the experiences that have happened from your parents, their parents, and so forth, so forth. So it goes back quite a long way. So we are full of so many different belief systems that sometimes our life can feel a little bit muddled, a little bit stressful, and we get triggered by things that don't make sense to us at all because we haven't experienced them in our lifetime.
And if those beliefs become limiting beliefs, then we are again in front of the wall and we can't develop ourselves the way we could, right?
Absolutely.
Because if we try to plant a seed in a toxic ground, it really will not work.
It very rarely grows. And the thing is that most of the belief systems that we have, to be honest, about 70% of our subconscious beliefs are limiting or negative. So let me give you an example. As a woman, it wasn't that many generations ago that women weren't allowed to vote, that women really were the housekeepers, the homekeepers. They stayed at home and raised the families, and the men went out and earned the money. So there's a lot of things that have been passed through to us just generationally that are already in us, and they are instilled. So sometimes our feeling of worth as women in particular, we don't feel like it's our role to do these things. It's not like we don't feel like we can do everything, or we don't deserve to do everything, or we should be home. So there's lots of conflicting beliefs within us. And that's just one example. Like, it goes to all areas. Men have the same belief systems because, you know, in the 50s and before that, the men were the providers and the women stayed home, and it was very simple. But now there's a big change in the roles. So I feel that it's really affected men as well, because, you know, they don't really know where they sit, because women can more often than not earn more than them, and they're the ones that want to go and work and get the husbands to stay home and raise a family. So it's a bit can be a little bit stressful and a bit confusing.
And when we look at all of this, self-love is a way of healing and a way of transforming these limiting beliefs. And this is why, from one side, your work is so important. I really do believe, because if we don't heal that, if we don't transform these limiting beliefs, and if we don't love ourselves, the growth would be almost impossible, right?
Oh, exactly. And self-love, regardless of whether you can get access to someone to help you through this, self-love is the cornerstone of everything. So we start to have self-love, self-care, start some little rituals within our life to start bolstering our self-love, so that eventually, and it doesn't take very long, but eventually we don't feel like it's selfish to look after ourselves. Like, it's not selfish to go and buy a bunch of flowers for ourselves, or book a massage, or have some time out in nature on our own. We don't feel like we're being selfish. In fact, it's something that we know that we truly deserve. Because ultimately we were not born to just get a job, retire, then die. We were born to create and to give and to share. And we have such a big reason to be here that it's time for us to step out.
I love that. I really do. Is it possible to change our stress response? For example, when we talk about this, we all have traumas in our lives, but how we react or respond to it, I think that determines a lot of things in our lives. Can you help us with that part?
Yeah, absolutely. There absolutely is a way that you can change or transform your stress response. And you're right, you've hit the nail on the head. We all have different responses to different stresses. And that often comes back to our belief systems. So, for example, something could occur in our life and we just get triggered and we have no real memory of that. But there are also many traumas also situations and conditions in our life that do cause a stress response.
Mm-hmm.
So the key there is to change the perception of the stress. So we can't remove what's happened. What's happened has happened, or what's in our life is in our life. However, using PSYCH-K, we can effectively transform your perception of that stress. So we can, in my experience with clients, I've been able to dramatically reduce the response of stress, and sometimes even just make it go completely. So what it means is that the situation, trauma, or condition is still there, because we can't remove that completely. However, how we respond to that in a stressful manner it changes dramatically. And remember, stress response can be physical and mental, and we all, of course, feel things differently. So you and I might experience the exact same thing, but how we respond to that going forward can be completely different.
And that is something that we can learn, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And sometimes it just even takes looking at a situation that you're in, or even a condition, and just changing your perception yourself a little bit, just taking a step back and maybe looking at it a little bit differently, and just tweaking, maybe looking at a situation and thinking, well, what's my learning here? What is it that I'm learning and growing? What's going on here? There's something here, because everything that we go through has got a learning attached to it. So sometimes we change our perception just a little bit, and we can change it from being catastrophic to just maybe not so bad. And sometimes we can change it completely and make that a pivotal time in our life where we change complete direction and we find exactly what we've been looking for.
And to be honest, usually in the relationships with other people, we don't know 90% of things that's happening in their lives.
That's right.
So yeah, if we just take a step back, it might be very helpful, right?
Agreed.
So all of this
Yep.
has a deeper connection: self-love, setting boundaries, self-acceptance, self-care. It is connected with our previous belief system, which we can affect and change, right? And we can learn how to react and not to respond to situations. And this is the core of the transformation, which can start in us in order to change our life, which is happening outside of us, right? And that is the beauty of the work that you do. And I'm so honored that we had a chance to work together for a few months. And if you would like to share a little bit, I know you are working on a new program, and I had the pleasure to listen to it a little bit. If you would like to share something about that, please feel free.
Oh, I'd love to. Yes, I'm in the middle of producing my program that Catherine's a little bit aware of. And ultimately, it is all around stress, all the different aspects of stress to do with boundaries, self-love, self-worth, limiting belief systems, all the things that are related to stress, because ultimately that can be the core of most of the issues that we have in life. So my program that's being built right now is going to help to break through these with some beautiful affirmations in every area as well, and going through some stages of how to work through these things yourself and with my help as well. So it's a beautiful program.
I'm so happy that it's going to see the sunlight very soon. I hope very soon, but we will see how things will go. I really enjoyed watching few videos that you have prepared, and I think it's filled with very, very good information, and I can't wait to see it when it's launched. Now we're going to have a little bit of fun. You know, that second part of the interview when I will tackle you a little bit, and you have like 10 seconds to answer to me. Okay?
Okay.
So what's your favorite book?
Think and Grow Rich.
One of my favorites too. What do you like to do at your spare time?
I like to read, self-help, self-motivation, personal development.
That's very beautiful. That's again connected to self-love, right?
Yeah.
And what would be your advice to someone who is maybe not aware completely and they are in some kind of stressful situation? What's the first thing, like a quick tool that they can use to step out from that?
Oh, absolutely. Get to a quiet place, sit down, close your eyes, take some very, very big, deep breaths down to the tummy. Just hold it in for a couple of seconds, let that out. Do that 2 or 3 times, completely clear your mind. And then when you open your eyes, a little bit of the stress has gone. You've been able to clear your head and you're able to think a bit clearer, and the stress is not quite so overwhelming and crushing.
So simple and yet very effective, right?
It is. It really is.
Tell us a little bit where people can find you, how they can reach out to you, and a little bit more about your services, if you would like.
Oh, absolutely. I'm on pretty much every platform, but my website is kimwagner.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love people to reach out to me, even if they just have some questions about what I have to offer to help them.
Mm-hmm.
I do have coaching packages. We can do 4 or 8 packages.
Mm-hmm.
And I love working with people. I work with people all over the globe, of course, with technology now. I can do all of my sessions via Zoom or whatever platform they prefer.
Mm-hmm.
I also do distance healings. And of course, my beautiful program will be out soon.
Thank you so much. Your energy is so beautiful. You made my day. I know you are all the way to Australia and it's evening for you, but my day just started and it's much more beautiful than it was this morning, I have to say.
Oh, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
I enjoy spending time with you and working with you and learning from you and everything else. I really do believe we are soul sisters. And I feel that we are going to meet in person very soon. Thank you for being my guest.
I think we will. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Bye bye. Ciao.
Bye bye.